When you read the Bible without asking questions, you miss out on the deeper revelations. So, right here in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15, we're going to ask some questions. It says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing." I might be asking, why are these false prophets coming in sheep's clothing in particular? Where else in the scriptures do I see sheep representing the people of God? But inwardly, they're ravenous wolves. I might ask the same question about wolves, because when we read the New Testament, we want to understand that every idea, every statement, every parable, every miracle, every story, it finds its basis in the Old Testament. You will recognize them by their fruits. So apparently, you're not recognizing them by their mere outward appearance. That's what makes them a false prophet. Is they're sneaky, they're cunning, and they're ravenous wolves on the inside, but outwardly their clothing and appearance makes them look like sheep. And if you read the rest of the Sermon on the Mount, we've seen these same kind of pretenders Jesus referred to as those who give and fast and pray, but in a very hypocritical way. Their heart is not after the things of God. So the fruits here must be different than the mere appearance of their life and the outward behaviors and the public demonstrations that they give, right? So this is what recognizes or sets them apart from the true sheep of God. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes? I might want to ask, why in the world are we all of a sudden talking about grapes and thorn bushes? And how do grapes and thorn bushes, or figs and thistles, relate to the idea of a sheep's clothing covering a ravenous wolf? Well, he's making a point about you expect a certain kind of fruit on the specific kind of tree that it is. A tree bears the kind of fruit that's consistent with its nature, right? You recognize a tree by its fruit, essentially. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes? No. I might be asking why grapes in particular, just in that culture, in that ancient world. There are certain things agriculturally that were very common for them that aren't for us, but why grapes and why figs from thistles? Just something to consider. Not saying there's a definite connection here, but in the fall of man narrative in Genesis 3, we see humanity covering themselves with fig leaves, right? And we also see thorns and thistles result from the curse, and sin has now come into the world. And the evidence on the land is that there's thorn bushes and thistles. So every healthy tree bears good fruit. I might be asking, well, what does the healthy tree represent in this kind of mini parable, in this example? And what is the good fruit? Well, he just talked about the discerning false prophets by their fruits. He says the diseased tree bears bad fruit. So we have two trees contrasted, the healthy tree bearing good fruit and the diseased tree bearing bad fruit. What's the difference between the two besides their fruit?